In the shadowy underworld of New York City, one man ruled with a method so bizarre, so brilliant, that he evaded the law for decades. His tactic? Pretending to be insane for 30 years, wandering the streets in a bathrobe, muttering to himself, all to convince the world he was unfit for trial. But was it madness or sheer genius? This is the story of Vincent the Chin Gigante, the mafia boss who outfoxed the FBI with an act that stunned the world. Born in 1928 in Greenwich Village, Vincent Gigante was destined for a life of crime. As a young man, Gigante was a professional boxer with a record of 21 wins and only 4 losses. But it didn't take long until he traded his boxing gloves for brass knuckles, making his mark in the ruthless world of organized crime. But it wasn't just his fists that made him feared. It was his mind. Gigante wasn't like other mobsters. He had a secret weapon, a trick that no one saw coming. In the 1980s, Gigante had risen to become the boss of the powerful Genovese crime family. But this was no ordinary ascension. Gigante was a man who understood the value of shadows. To the outside world, Fat Tony Salerno was the Genovese boss, a cigar-chomping gangster with a public presence. But in truth, Salerno was just a front, a smokescreen hiding the real power, Vincent Gigante. While Salerno dealt with the day-to-day attention, Gigante moved behind the scenes, pulling the strings and maintaining his power through a mixture of strategy, fear, and deception. But power in the mafia isn't handed over easily. In 1957, Gigante's ambition was on full display when he was ordered to eliminate Frank Costello, the then boss of the Luciano crime family. In a dark hallway, Gigante confronted Costello, firing a single shot that grazed Costello's head. Though Costello survived, the attempt signaled the rise of Gigante's mentor, Vito Genovese, and marked the beginning of Gigante's climb to the top. Costello, shaken by the attack, soon retired, leaving the door open for Genovese, and eventually Gigante, to seize control. Years later, in 1986, another dramatic moment unfolded as Gigante set his sights on John Gotti, the brash and flamboyant boss of the Gambino family. Gotti had made headlines by orchestrating the assassination of his own boss, Paul Castellano, without the commission's approval, a move that angered the old guard, including Gigante. In retaliation, Gigante ordered a hit on Gotti, hoping to maintain the delicate balance of power within the mafia. But Gotti proved as slippery as he was ruthless. The attack failed, and Gotti emerged unscathed, further cementing his own legend as the Teflon Don. The failed hit, however, only added to the legend of Gigante, a man willing to take on even the most powerful of foes to protect his empire. Every day, Gigante meticulously maintained his image as the Oddfather. He shuffled through the streets, sometimes wearing pajamas, sometimes pretending to be lost in his own world. Doctors diagnosed him with schizophrenia, and he was often admitted to psychiatric hospitals. But was he really insane? Or was this all part of a grand illusion, a brilliant strategy to stay out of prison? Federal investigators were baffled. They knew Gigante was pulling the strings behind some of the most brutal crimes in New York, but they couldn't touch him. How could they? The man was clearly insane, or so it seemed. Year after year, Gigante's act kept him out of the courtroom, and more importantly, out of jail. He was the ghost in the machine, the invisible hand guiding the Genovese family from the shadows. But as the 1990s approached, Gigante's carefully crafted illusion began to crack. Sammy the Bull Gravano, John Gotti's underboss, and a notorious mob turncoat, would become one of the key figures to testify against Gigante. Gravano's insider knowledge revealed the true nature of the man behind the mask, bringing the FBI one step closer to unraveling Gigante's decades-long deception. In the 1990s, after decades of eluding justice, the FBI finally closed in. They gathered enough evidence to prove that Gigante's madness was nothing more than an act, and in 1997, the Chin was convicted of racketeering and sentenced to prison. The curtain had fallen, and the world saw Vincent Gigante for what he truly was, a criminal genius who used madness as a mask. In December 2005, Vincent the Chin Gigante passed away in federal prison, marking the end of an era. His death closed the final chapter on one of the most cunning and elusive figures in mafia history. Vincent the Chin Gigante's story is a testament to the lengths one man will go to protect his empire. Was he mad, or was he simply playing a game of chess while everyone else was playing checkers? The truth may never be fully known, but one thing is certain: There will never be another like the chin.